Hey everybody, and welcome to Tablestory Dust Vale, Episode 1. I'm going to try not to do that too much, but it's been a long day. Welcome to, Chapter 1, Tablestory Dust Vale. We are here, huzzah, the whole crew, ready to play a wonderful game. This is going to be D&D 5e. I'll give you guys some sort of info on the setting and the stuff like that, but first I think we'll just start very casually by saying hello to our wonderful players. How's it going, players?
Hi, Dad.
Good.
Some faces I recognize and some I do not, because I don't watch BradWOTO's channel. Sorry.
Nobody does anymore, don't worry.
Yeah, you guys ready to play?
Ready to play.
Yes, I'm gonna pretend to.
Are we gonna do podcast D&D beforehand, or are we just
Yeah, I feel like it's the best way to approach this at this point, because it will turn into that every week anyway.
It will. I'm still shopping for a cloak right now. Jesse's inspired me, so
Yeah.
gotta.
It's not a cloak.
It's
It's
a
not a
shamag.
cloak. It's a shamag.
It's
Yeah.
a shamag. Sorry. Sounds
Dial that
like
in.
a foreign dish.
Well, I don't have it tied properly. The proper shamag, it would be drawn across the whole. Well, that would make it really hard to talk into my microphone, so I'm just leaving it open.
Isn't that how your character would sound every time? Just
Yeah, when you're out of character, open it. When you're in character, just wrap it around tighter. Yeah, so we're gonna be doing episode 1 of this today. This is a completely homebrew campaign, which means that I made it up entirely, which means it's a Final Fantasy game. I mean, I made it up entirely, and it does have like a bit of a Western twang. To be fair, we've been advertising it as like a Western. Really, it's not going to be anywhere near as Western as you're hoping. For one thing, I really suck at like a South American accent, so like even there, I'm going to be like, oh no, this is all. I'll put it this way: the first NPC you're going to meet speaks Russian. But it does have a certain Western feel to it, which is why there's lots of sand and things like that. Dustvale is a continent based in a desert, so it's kind of like westerny and deserty, but it also has it's still very typically fantasy based. So don't worry if you're like, what? No guns, please, in my D&D. I won't have it. I'm trying to practice my southern accent.
Well, you
Get
better
there.
get out of here with them guns.
All right.
Get out of here. So what I normally like to do is just do like a quick go round, see how everyone's doing, say hi, you know, just what you've been up to this week. You can introduce yourselves just as people, not necessarily in character. I figure we can do character intros in future weeks, but this week we'll do character intros in the game when it begins. So let's start with Mr. BradWOTO. How's it going, bud?
It's
Right there, bud.
it's going. Just finished streaming there, hey bud. Came over to play some video games, eh?
Yeah? What did you stream?
We were playing Breath of the Wild, the greatest game ever made, and raising money for St. Jude to dress me up as a woman.
Yeah?
That's how my day's gone. I woke up, I streamed. I'm here to play D&D.
You're just streaming all day, basically.
That's entirely what I've done all day. Yeah.
Prepare for every Wednesday.
Dude, I've been looking forward to playing D&D for the past month. It's so good to be back.
Yeah, I've been working night and day on this. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be so burnt out, I'm not actually going to be able to do it when it rolls around. But yeah, I've been putting a bunch of effort into it. Probably not going to show, but I promise. I promise I tried.
Does.
No, it never does.
Nobody ever notices anything.
Yeah, it's I only invented an entire world for the people.
No, there was effort put into this.
Oh my god,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna need you to recognize what I did.
I did some really special things. It's been a while since I've done D&D on my own channel as DM kind of thing as well. So this is I'm in a weird place right now. I'm in a weird place. But am I in a weird place as Fairlight Excalibur if that is Fairlight Excalibur all the way over there.
Who? Where?
In the Shamog. How do you spell Shamog?
Shemagh.
Okay, I thought it was something similar.
It's
to
every
that.
letter, okay? Every letter.
Just all the letters. Just take the
Every
alphabet.
consonant.
Take
Flip
the
it.
alphabet, chop it up like a carrot, throw it in
Yeah.
a bowl, and then just scatter it onto your screen.
And that's Shamog.
How's your week been, Jesse? I saw you building a computer, and I caught the very beginning of your stream last night when the mic was doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, so I actually haven't streamed in like 4 or 5 days, and yesterday was my first one back because I ordered a new PC and it got sent to the wrong address. So I first off had to go over there and get it back. So we had to like drive way out to where I used to live. I have no idea how they even got my old address, but we managed to retrieve the computer, bring it back, and then I spent a bunch of time like moving furniture around and carrying some heavy stuff for my roommate. It's been a long week. Pulled a muscle in my neck. Long story short, I'm just now getting back, so there haven't been any streams. So this is like yesterday I streamed, and now here I am doing this.
Here you are, indeed, wasting time playing D&D with us losers. Tuesday.
I'm
How's
the one
your
wearing a
week been?
shamog,
Yeah.
so I lose the ability to call anyone in this group
I did
a nerd or a
consider
loser.
like dressing up, doing like a wax Stephen
Okay,
and getting
well,
something like a cowboy
I'm
hat.
not quite as fancy. I'm not wearing a shamog, but I am wearing a fleecy cloak affair that I'll show you in full at some point. But it's not a robe. It's not a onesie. I haven't been streaming this week either because I am rather sick. So I'm going to try and pull it together as best I can. I'm hopped up on caffeine, cold medication, and that shit you spray up your nose so that you can breathe.
Cocaine.
But I'm gonna hold it together, folks. So I'm looking forward to playing some D&D. This is my first actual D&D. I've played Call of Cthulhu. I've played What's Old is New. So I have role played before in similar systems, but this is my first actual legitimate D&D. I'm told it's 5e. Sounds cool. Let's do this.
Can we get a hashtag scrub learn to play in chat?
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my
You're out.
Because she's sick at 1,000 viewers, she's actually gonna drink a whole bottle of NyQuil. Going with the show. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
You're in space.
I'm in space.
Oh my God! It's Tenchi in space.
Well, we can't. I was going to try. We seem to have lost contact with Tenchi. He's left the planet. So let's jump to Connor Cronus.
Okay.
How's it going, Connor? I haven't seen you since you were playing a dwarf in another campaign.
I know, aye. But that dwarf actually sounded like a dwarf. But this one, he's not. No, it's not going to sound like a dwarf at all.
Really?
No,
I liked it.
yeah. I ain't going the
Little
dwarf,
Connery tint to it.
But no, chaos as always. And
Suffering.
Is chaos a ladder though?
chaos, suffering, and death. I mean, a new baby sister was born last Thursday.
Oh, shit, nice.
Nice.
Congrats.
Congrats. Does he get a
Question,
congrats for
question
that?
mark on the end there.
Does
like,
he get
Yeah.
the congrats there? I mean,
Is that a yes
can you
or a
can you
no?
pass the congrats on?
Yeah.
There you go.
You okay there, Tenji?
No, Tenji's like just
Other
going
choice.
around the world here. He's just found a new toy or something. I don't know. He's like, I can go to space. Can we have Golden Gate Bridge, please? That's what I want.
Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
I can't get my.
That fits the campaign best, in my opinion.
What's up, guys? This is Western San Francisco.
Yeah, Western
Avocados
San
actually said
Francisco.
really well.
There.
How's it going, Tenchi? How's your week been?
Good. This is actually the best possible grouping of people for D&D. I don't care what anybody says. That is setting. All right, can we get the Golden Gate here for our setting? And then everybody laughs. I like that. That's a good D&D group right there.
Yeah. Joke's on you because it's actually set in San Francisco. Like,
We're actually playing Pathfinder.
There's gonna
Wait,
be that,
yeah.
what's that Beatles song like playing in the background? There's always gonna be a bard if you're
Oh,
going.
God. No.
oh no. No, I don't think even I could bring myself to set a D&D, a full campaign in San Francisco.
Like the easiest accents to do ever. Oh my God! Welcome.
God.
There was a Tarask that came through here. It burst through the LA Fitness and it crashed the Smith machine.
We're gonna have to move to Sacramento. Oh my god.
You
I
guys
don't
do
even
that
know.
voice better than me who lives here.
I thought Sacramento was an urban legend.
I don't even know what Sacramento is. I just hear lots of people
What's
say it.
that old comedian said, welcome to San Francisco. Don't forget your Birkenstocks.
No idea, but
Dude, it's a great special, man.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and assume that is how he sounds.
It's actually, that's the joke, Brad.
It's Bill Burr. That's who you're thinking of.
I'm a streamer. All I do is regurgitate and parrot jokes that I've heard on the internet.
No. He regurgitates memes and calls them jokes.
Hey, we got a good meme. We got a good meme emote on this channel. You're outnumbered, Fairlight.
Rack attack.
we got the good memes.
Oh, you actually.
Did I accidentally wander into a meme channel? I'm out.
The reason I have good meme is because I'm always in Felix's videos and I dress up as Marcia and everybody comes in and goes, "Oh, hi Marcia," or "Hey, I didn't know Marcia streams." So we respond with that like every time. Just yeah, great meme, bud. Welcome. Because I don't know what it is. It's an awkward place, right? When you're known for one thing, it's like, cool, you know me for this thing, but also it's like like everyone says it. Like, please, leave me alone. Anyway, I will be DMing as Marcia in full drag. I will not.
10,000 likes.
10,000 likes, yeah. 1 million likes. No, I will not be DMing. I'm going to be DMing as me, BradWOTO, your dungeon master and game master for this series. Let's begin. Let's play some fucking D&D, guys. Let's play some fucking D&D. I love D&D.
I mean, we have.
So I'm going to give all of y'all some kind of general background on the world and the setting and stuff, but mostly I guess you guys should just explore it. And we'll pick up lore and story and stuff and what's going on and places as we go along. But just to give everybody kind of an idea of the setting, Dustvale is we're rolling dice, okay?
I was testing the 3D
numbers
dice.
still ran.
You have died.
Oh yeah, that was the nat 20 on that.
Yeah, nat 20 died.
Well, you just rolled a
suicide
20, I
attempt,
think.
or-
I don't think you rolled a d20. You just rolled a 20.
Oh, sorry.
That's what happened there.
I always
There we
just
go,
end up
okay.
rolling 20s when I hit
Yeah.
roll 20.
Dude, I haven't played on roll 20 in like 2 months, man. Let me go, okay?
Yeah.
Wait, can you actually do that? Can you just type /roll20 and it'll
Yeah, it'll
just
just
come out?
literally say the number 20, and yeah, well done, thank you.
Dude, I'm
Wow.
gonna get nothing but nat 20s all day. This is great.
I've been tricked by that before as well. Like I've seen like people roll and I just see the number and I'm like, wow,
Right.
dude, you got a 40,
Wow.
you got a 48 on a D6. That was amazing. So Dustvale is it's sort of a large, it's kind of a Wild Westy style continent. It's one of 7 in like an overall world. The world is known as Lacrin. But Dustvale is just like this back alley kind of continent. It is like a pure desert, and only up until relatively recently it was just a shit pit, basically. Nobody goes there. You kind of would only come to Dustvale if you were maybe some sort of outlaw from one of the other continents. For example, there is a continent known as Thelmesia, far to the north of Dustvale, which is your typical sort of fantasy land, lush greens and castles and knights in shining armor. Whereas if those people come to Dustvale, within 10 seconds they've been like robbed, and and within 15 seconds they've turned to a life of crime because there's no other option.
Bunch of do-gooders.
Yeah, but I mean there are good people and there are bad people in Dustvale just like anywhere else, but there's a lot more kind of Wild West style craziness, I guess, going on. So there is we have this pretty dope looking world map. So I'll just bring us over to this phone now. In general, this is how this is where we're going to be sticking forever. For now, I mean, if you leave, then
If you leave, you die.
if you leave, you immediately kind of die. Unfortunately, no, you
So we'll go ahead and get on
technically
a boat right away,
you
okay.
technically could get on a boat. I'll just be upset because I spent a lot of money on some of the artwork and stuff. So
Just so you know, the entire continent is surrounded by krakens.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you want to leave,
Unfortunately,
good luck.
it's really difficult. Yeah, boats are pretty few and far between, though there are some. The ports are very obviously noted as ports, as they have the word port in the town name.
No, that's smart. I should try that.
Yeah, other than that, they're the only places you would be able to get a boat out of here. So Dustville is pretty much just a huge great desert. There are a bunch of cities and towns which are connected by a sprawling rail network. Yes, trains. The only time trains are cool is in fantasy stuff. So all the paths on the map here are train systems and not actually paths, because people don't tend to travel between the cities on foot or by horseback. If you live inside of a city, you probably stay there. It's too hot to travel across the desert. There are people who can guide you across the desert. They're colloquially known as sand walkers. And there are people and settlements and things out in the desert. There's plenty of stuff going on here. Just the most notable main cities that are ruled by like a vague governmental system are these ones with the train system connecting them. Each city has a chancellor. They all report to the emperor in the Crimson City, and they're all kind of vaguely at war with each other. Like, it's more of a sort of like, they're not like open. It's not open war. It's like espionage. Each city's trying to fuck each other over. They have a house in the city. For example, in Sin River there is House Naga, and in the Windy Peaks there's House Gull. And they will potentially send like assassins or like secret warlocks over to fuck with each other's house so that they can then use that leverage on each other for more money and gain and etc. About 100 years ago, long ago, not really that long ago actually in D&D terms, there was something known as the Fall of Magic. This is prominent because it was one of the things that brought about the rise of tinkering and technology to a degree. Some adventurers, no, just some people, mortals, rose up and actually managed to attack one of the gods. It was the goddess Mistra, goddess of magic, and they kind of proved that a god could bleed. They didn't like kill her or anything like that, but they hurt her enough that she essentially nerfed magic. She turned magic from this incredibly powerful destructive force into pretty good but not great. For example, a fireball used to be like as powerful as like a modern day nuke, whereas now it's like what we know as a fireball spell, like still pretty big and damaging, but it's been nerfed down to what we all know as magic. However, because of this, inventors started amping up things. For example, they made guns. There are now gunslingers in and around the world, including one of them here. Somebody else is a gunslinger. Mostly gnomes started working on strange weapons and tinkering with these strange things, so guns became prevalent. They're mostly just kind of like basic revolvers, maybe like a repeater rifle or a blunderbuss. Nothing crazy. There's no AK-47s or like RPGs and stuff like that.
I thought we were in Russia though.
Yeah, no, it's not Russia. There's just
the Russian NPC is an AK-47.
Got an AK.
The Russian NPCs are just running around with heavy LMGs, 100-round magazines.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend.
I have Moonraker.
No, there's none of that. There's just like basic weapons. The weird thing about it, I've never actually used the gunslinger class, and when me and Connor first looked at it recently when we made his character, they actually have a couple of guns on there as like suggestions, but it also says like try and make your own, kind of like you're partial artificer as well, in that you can attempt to make your own. So very likely we'll see probably Connor's character make a new type of gun, and I'm guessing it's probably going to be a fucking Kalashnikov now. We'll see.
Going to be a Kalashnikov.
Say hello to my big friend.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. I don't know. He's going to become the most powerful creature in the entire world.
Yeah. Roll 10d8 for your attack.
Yeah. The gnomes also invented the train. It's a steam train run on coal, which also gives a lot of the dwarves something to mine for, and the deep gnomes and stuff like that. So this kind of central area on the map, where there's this huge kind of mountain range, also contains like deep veins of like coal and things like that. So there's lots and lots and lots of mines, old mines, new mines, throughout the entire mountain range along the entire continent. Generally, magic is vaguely restricted. Wizards are sanctioned. Everyone else is not. Druids are usually found out in the fucking desert somewhere, as opposed to just like, hey, I'm a druid in the town. You usually go and seek out a druid who will be like an Obi-Wan type character out in a hole in a cave somewhere. Just go out there like, oh, we need your help. Warlocks are usually more kind of like secreted away. One of the more powerful houses might have a couple of warlocks that they've just dedicated their lives trying to get in contact with like some demonic form. Who's dead now? Tenchi.
Bro.
Tenchi died.
Again.
Tenchi's disguised himself as a spaceman.
As a classic.
And sorcerers can't really help their powers, so they just kind of end up getting like caught, grabbed, and then placed somewhere. Like they might be placed into a school of magic, or they might be grabbed by like one of the more evil houses and trained to do something. Last but not least, religion in general. A relatively religious area, considering how unlaw-abiding it is and kind of Wild Westy, lawless. Because they need things called water makers in a world where, or in a region where there's nothing but desert, there's no rivers at all. You generally wouldn't be able to survive. However, we have the power of magic in Dustvale, and so there are lots and lots of clerics which are like mass-produced to create water, and they just continually make the create water spell for towns, for their house leaders, and for companies and like trains need water and stuff like that. So each train has its own water maker on board, just continually making water, as well as a conductor and a driver. Generally people are quite religious in Dustvale because there are so many clerics about, and although a lot of those clerics are just like children who are just making water for free because their parents were suspiciously murdered by the evil House Chancellor, and then they were dragged into a water making facility and told to make water forever. It's pretty dark. Pretty dark.
It just got off to a really dark start.
Pretty dark.
I like this world already.
Child enslavement in the first episode.
Child
it's not even our fault.
So, sorry, but unfortunately,
capture some slaves.
That's all there is. Yeah. Well, I actually genuinely figured, like, hey, it'd be cool if you got to free the slaves at some point. I mean, they're not even really slaves. They are free, but like, where would they go? You know,
we free the slaves and the town dies of thirst.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
We just killed an entire city.
And
to free some slaves.
yeah, like that's the type of moral quandary that I want you to wander into and encounter. So let's get on with the actual beginning of the.
I thought that was just the first episode.
Yeah,
that was it. That was it.
See you
Thank
guys
you.
next
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
I do hate the ramble on from the DM at the beginning, but it's just so important. Like I've watched a few shows where the DM doesn't explain anything and they just begin, and I'm like, so where is this? What's going? Like what's happening? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm okay with being that rambling man at the beginning. Lord,
Welcome to D&D con saves, everyone.
Roll perception.
Roll perception.
You don't see anything.
You don't see the story.
Yeah, sorry. The story's not found.
You guys are in Sin River. Well, you're very, 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 very close to Sin River. You're not so close to Sin River that you're inside of the town, because the town is actually located inside of kind of a gorge, like an old dried up riverbed, and it's maybe 100 feet down from like ground level, I guess is what you would call it. This is like a pretty seedy town. It's a pretty big city that a lot of people come to for casinos and brothels and like nighttime activities and robbing and banditry and things like that. However, you guys, I'm sure, are not here for those reasons. You're at least here because you've been hired to do a very basic and simple job by a member of House Naga, which means probably pays relatively well. You are on top of the gorge is where the train station is. So you have to imagine kind of there's like a gorge, which is like a Game of Thrones style, like, oh, we have to get down this wall thing with this weird winch-based elevator machine that the gnomes operate. So like where you guys will be situated is near the train station, which is like a huge, large, single-story building. It's got like one of those like timepieces on a central story part, a tall section that juts out, and a bunch of people bustling in and out. It's gonna look probably something, but not exactly like that kind of a deal. You have like just a building. There's nothing in Dustvale that's very nice. There's no like palaces. There's no like old forts and stuff like that. Like it's just ramshackle, wooden mostly buildings that are placed almost at random about the area. The train stations in particular, because they're all relatively kind of new, and they're run by tinkering gnomes who care more about the actual train than the buildings that house the people that stand in them for two days waiting for the next train to come along.
2 days?
It could be anything. There's not that many trains, but there are plenty of cities. So there are long trains and there are small trains, but sometimes you end up waiting for days for a train. They don't really have like a train's going to arrive. The 104 Falcon Express is going to arrive at 2:33 p.m. and it runs perfectly. It's like nowhere near. They're like, yeah, it'll be here maybe tomorrow. Oh, okay.
Unless it gets held up.
Yeah, unless like always they get robbed and stolen and torn apart, and all the cargo is taken away, and all the people on board were murdered.
I assume these trains must have some killer security guards, just like 10 guys in each car.
The rock troll.
Each train,
Interesting you say that.
Each train usually does come with its own mage, which is like a sanctioned wizard who's relatively powerful, who often acts as the conductor because they just do that as a job. Some well-trained, powerful mage, usually a gnome. The driver can usually kind of handle himself. There's a priest because they have a cleric water maker. And then they have like maybe a couple of hired men who sit on the train as well. And yeah, it in an attempt to stop the banditry, but you know, there's only so far you can go down that road. Because this is all funded by the Crimson City, which is something you would know. So it's funded by the Emperor, and although nobody says it out loud, he's definitely corrupt as shit. He's like Palpatine levels of evil looking. He is rumored to be descendant of the god Bane himself. Bane being a really nice god. I'm sure you'll find out.
Didn't he like almost kill Batman?
Yep, yeah, that's him.
Sean Connery into a cup.
So you guys find yourselves kind of outside this train station. There is a train sitting, waiting to go. It is the 104 Falcon Express. It's a single steam engine, brushed steel, 2 carriages which are painted red but kind of sand-blasted by the harsh desert environment. Attached to it, one being the front carriage for passengers, and the second being the cargo hold. The train looks like it's kind of preparing to depart. There's like a handful of relatively well-dressed people kind of getting onto the passenger carriage, and then there's like a couple of like half-orcs like lugging great big crates and kegs and boxes onto the sort of open doors of those, those sort of cargo carriages that open sideways, and you always have the dudes on the horses riding up next to them because they never close them, and I don't know why.
Machine guns,
What I will say is because they never close them in the movies, they will never be closed in the campaign. Like every time you try, it's just an immediate crit fail. So
you break your hand.
So you have like Sin River kind of behind you to a degree. Like it's beyond where you are inside of this great gorge. There's like the little, maybe like the winch starts to turn now, and you hear the huge platform with some cargo, and some of the passengers who maybe came off of the train suddenly start to lower down into that sort of rough casino town that I mentioned. And you guys have been gathered here, or you've each individually found like a quest board, or been told of, or maybe even approached personally to meet with a tiefling woman known as Shaus, who is relatively high up in House Naga. And pretty obvious who Shaus is. She's approaching you guys as I guess you would be at the actual train station, maybe just set a little bit apart because you know you got to meet someone. The train station just off to one side of you. You'll see this relatively slender looking tiefling woman, a sort of mustardy red kind of skin color with these small but like deep golden horns. And she has like a big, like beefy looking, not necessarily intelligent Goliath with like a battle axe on his back, approaching you from where the elevator had come up. So let's do a quick round of who Shaus sees as she approaches. There's Shaus.
Oh.
Damn. That's not protecting her against sand.
It's hot, okay? It's hot in the desert. Don't you know?
Some good proficiencies on it, right?
You don't know what that armor does, okay? You give me an investigation or an arcana check, and you might find out.
I kind of want to try now.
But
my character probably would.
One day.
Yeah, with his 0 investigation.
But yeah, first, let's go around real quick and just sort of get a brief character description from each of you. Let's start with, we'll just go around the order of the overlay. Kenneth Pepp, who do we see? What do you look like?
A kind of an older looking man, clean shaven, long black and white hair. Kind of used to be black, now it's a little salt and pepper. And he's just wearing a standard tattered brown robe that he keeps kind of like fully enveloped over his person. Like medium height as well. Kind of a tall-ish guy, like 6 feet, so pretty average. And I guess you'd look pretty suspicious if you showed quite literally nothing but a brown robe. There's no discernible features other than that.
So you are Obi-Wan after all of that.
I'm pretty much Obi-Wan, yeah.
but that means there's some white interlaced with the brown.
Do you have like a suspicious metallic object on like a belt?
Yeah, it's a cup.
Like a cylindrical,
cylindrical,
but there's like a hole, like a thing, yeah. Okay, so you might not all necessarily be stood around with each other because all you guys know is that you're each meeting this woman. So as you're just all standing around with everyone else as people walking past you. Some noble-looking people and some rougher-looking people. There are a couple of like shady-looking types in one corner, like hiding in the shadows with a beak. But there's a relatively outlander-looking form in Raja. What do we see in your character there?
He'd be kind of hard to miss because he's intentionally wearing a bright red outfit, and he's just stepping off the train, arriving back in town. And you would see he's tall, thin, clearly suited to mercenary work, as he looks pretty well worn, and like despite the fact that he's wearing kind of like a shamag face mask, robe, etc., you can also see armor underneath it. His skin is incredibly weathered. More so than most. And obviously in the desert, everyone is a little bit weathered, but one glance and you can tell he's either been living out in the wilderness by himself or he's from some tiny little settlement. He's not accustomed to being in the shade very much, hence the outfit. There's also like noticeable weapon poking out from underneath the handle of a sword, but you can't tell what kind of sword exactly because it's under the rest of his robe. And of course, has met Shaus before, so he immediately it's like, oh, tiefling, that's probably her. And starts walking over that way.
Shaus is probably heading more towards you than anyone else, since you are the only person who has met Shaus before. So, across, hidden in shadow, is a bird-looking creature. Who? What do we see when we see Lash?
Lash would not be the first thing you would notice, and this is very intentional. She's always sort of hiding in the shadows. She's not very tall. She's about 5'2" and lean, and typically has the hood of her kind of charcoal cloak pulled up. But if you did look at her, you would notice her eyes darting left, right, and everywhere, taking in the whole scene, definitely noting valuables. And she has, you'd also maybe notice, in addition to her kind of glinting dark green eyes, a small sapphire pendant that always seems to be almost proudly displayed outside of her cloak. But she's in the shadows, trying not to be noticed for the most part.
Yeah. First time I've DM'd for a Kenku.
Yeah, I'm. Lash is actually, for those who aren't familiar, a flightless raven. You can picture a flightless raven. I have glossy black feathers and yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and then probably a more familiar looking sight in a sort of western kind of outpost is a vaguely cowboyish looking Carlias. What does Carlias look like?
Carlias has his leather duster on. He's got a rugged beard for a dwarf, obviously, but he's not the size of a dwarf. He's actually more kind of like Keely from The Hobbit kind of size. And yeah, he ain't in for games. He's a tough cookie.
Just a tough looking dwarf gunslinger type.
You piss him off, you're gonna get the end of his gun. So.
Yeah, people probably like avoid you a little more obviously than other people. Like they might see like the Sandwalker with this very interesting looking sword vaguely concealed. But like you're more frightening to a lot of people because gunslingers are still relatively rare. Although like they're not rare enough that it's like, whoa, gunslinger, this is like the only one in the world. It's still like it's rare enough that it's like new kind of and interesting and kind of, you know, like newfangled technology and scary. So yeah, you might see people like just take like one extra half step around you than they might do with some other scary looking types. And then I guess last but not least, the other race that I've never DM'd for, Arden. What do we see?
I didn't even know this was a race before this campaign even started.
I just found out then.
Yeah. I haven't played a Fearbolg since Dark Age of Camelot.
I have no idea.
Wait.
I'd never heard of either of your races, the Kenku or the Fearbolg. I was like, they're playing a what?
You're playing a Furbolg?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Right.
So yeah, if you guys and gals have ever seen anything with Errol Flynn, the old actor, he's got the little kind of light stash, almost pencil stash, and he's got a little soul patch, and he's always got this little smirk on his face like he thinks he knows what he's up to. Constantly probably harassing the ladies, although he thinks it's more wooing them, and more or less just being an annoyance to most people. But I would say probably most people will also forget about him after a while, unless something actually worked well for once, and then they're really mad probably.
I will never forget him. What was his name?
Yeah, right. I don't actually remember. Is it on my character sheet?
Arden?
I don't know. I've got no idea. I'm gonna do my best to like remember everyone's names, but I will fuck up and call you Tenchi, and I apologize now.
That's fine.
The very last thing that I want to cover as well is that there is an ancient wizard, much like in real life, that existed once upon a time called Jesus Christ, and sometimes people just exclaim Jesus Christ in the game. And that's my excuse for when my NPCs say Jesus Christ sometimes.
Could he create water?
That's where the clerics learned it from.
Apparently.
I thought he turned water into wine.
Yeah, he could only make wine.
He was very powerful. He could do a lot of different magical things. He cast the clone spell once, And the clone spell means that when you die, you wake up in another body inside of a cave 3 days later. And it's really, really impressive.
Oh, man.
What is that resurrect spell that you randomly turn into a different race? Is that race dead or
I
something?
don't know, I think there's one like that.
You rolled gnome.
Yeah, that's what happened. He came back as a gnome. So Shouse is kind of approaching you guys again. Yeah, she's got this like big, dopey looking kind of Goliath next to her. He's got like very little on as well, realistically speaking, kind of like a vest shaped leather armor on, and then just these like large but baggy kind of I guess they're called Aladdin pants. But like kind of
That's definitely what they're called.
with like a big belt around his waist, and then this old looking axe that doesn't look like it would that would work probably better as something that would bludgeon you as opposed to cut you up. But Shouse herself, relatively intimidating, just as she has an air of nobility about her. Her clothes are relatively fine, even though obviously her armor is quite slight. She's showing a little skin. She heads over straight towards you, Raja, and she extends a hand and says, "Hello, Raja. Good to see you again."
Raja quickly takes her hand back and says, "Yeah, it's good to be back in the city, I suppose. Got back in one piece once again.
Yes.
Please tell me that it's not all white this time."
No, this is going to be much simpler. And she like nods over at the Goliath, who produces from behind him this box, maybe this large, like would be just a little too large to fit easily in one hand, but you could grip it in one hand. He like hands it over towards where you are, and I guess the rest of you kind of, you know who to expect in Shouse and this Goliath, so you'll probably gather over as well. As each of you approaches, she says, "Ah, yes, the rest of you. This is going to be a very simple quest. Take this box," and the Goliath hands it to you, Raja. "Do not look inside it. Do not listen to it. Do not think about it. Just take it to Windy Peaks." And you now have this wooden-looking box, just very plain-looking box. It has a small clasp on the side and a very small brass lock, like a padlock, which seems to have closed it. Doesn't look like anything special. It's not like it's been made, or it looks like this ancient, wonderful, mystical box. Just a pretty plain-looking box made of like rough, tough-looking wood. She brings out a pouch of gold and just slings 50 gold at each of you. Each of you then gets a pouch, 50 gold pieces, and she says, "If the seal is broken, you will be hunted down by House Naga elites themselves." There's the train from behind where you guys are, and she says, "When you get to the Windy Peaks," and she kind of looks across each of you, "you'll want to speak to a man named Fexus at the Mage Tower." And then she looks up at the Goliath, and then he looks back down and says, "Oh, yes. You want me to go with them?" And she says, No. I just want you to remember their faces. Look across them, each one. Commit them to memory." And he looks across you. And he's going to commit you to memory. And he has attempted to commit you to memory.
Can I stare back and commit him to memory as well?
Yeah, I mean, you
like
can
study this Goliath real careful and just stare right back at him.
Let's see. What's your int stat?
It's +1.
Then you can commit him to memory without needing to roll.
Can my character go up and try and place a hand around Shouse?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, God.
Just gonna go up there with a very self-assured smile and go, "You know what? I really appreciate this. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and
I'll commit you to memory as well.
She raises a hand up to your face and touches you just on the cheek here, and then you feel a sharp kind of cut as she just scratches down your cheek, and she takes the end of the fingernail that has cut you and she licks it. Yes. Remember, Firbolg, I always kill what I mark. And you have been marked. And she just runs the finger down the front of you and kind of gives you a little wink and a smile.
We're all dead. I look at her and I'm
You've
like,
doomed us.
I'll definitely remember this. I want to use my disguise self a little bit to just kind of just cast over it to make it look like there wasn't anything there.
Yeah, sure, yeah. There's just this horrible wound. It just disappears.
Just smile and kind of slink away.
And she crosses her arms and steps away from Arden a little bit and then looks across each of you. There's another kind of like from the train. I can't do the train noise, but you can hear it in your head. Now you can probably only hear that Thomas the Tank Engine version from behind you. Yes, here we go. Keep that at all times nearby.
It's out. It's permanently there.
I need that. I'm gonna need that literally every week.
Just there was a train noise.
Yeah, that's your cue every time. It goes twice actually.
Oh, okay. I'm not doing it again.
Okay.
This one only went once.
I was just gonna keep going 3 times, then 4. She crosses her arms and then looks across each of you and says, "Does anybody have any questions before your train leaves?"
What are the odds of this box getting us killed?
Do you think I would put something so precious in the hands of this rabble? If it was so precious that it would get you killed, I would not waste it on you. I would send my own men.
In the past, you've always hired me alone.
Yes.
Today there's many of us, so I assume there's something of importance.
I just wish to make sure that it gets there. You know how it is.
Oh, I do. It will not be tampered with, looked at, or touched by anyone. And he actually, I'm kind of looking at the rest of the party like, no, you're not
Yes,
looking at this
because
box.
you might notice that Lash has already dug into her coin purse and has carefully bitten each piece of gold, and occasionally is glancing up at the tiefling and the box, and she's got her eyes on everything.
Hang on,
So
I'm
she's
gonna-
very
am I-
curious.
Am I going to notice that she's looking at that? Oh,
I mean, I assume yes. You can try and
I just not 20 to perception.
You
on
can
my
try
first
and
roll
beat
of the
that,
game.
but you kind of can't. But yeah, that probably sets the standard for this whole game.
As soon as I notice the bird looking at the box, it's like, and you keep your beak and your fingers and whatever else you have in there away from the box.
I just sort of tuck my my bill back in and furrow my brow a little bit, but I'm still peeking.
I'm sure we can find something else to steal along the way.
The tiefling woman looks over to Carlias and says, "As reliable as Raja the Red is, if he dies, you make sure the box gets there, gunslinger." She turns back and says, "Now then, who are you going to meet?"
Phoenix.
Isn't it Faxus?
Felix? It was Felix or Phoenix. I was going to write it down, but I didn't want the keyboard to make clacking noises.
I wrote it down. I think it's Faxus, right?
Is that what you say?
No, I don't know.
Does nobody say anything other than whatever
I'm like
fuck that
barely
word
paying-
was that Fairlight said?
Kenneth is barely paying attention.
My character's not paying attention.
She shakes her head and
For obvious
says,
reasons.
"Remember, is Fexus at Windy Peaks, okay? Tower of Arcana." And she shakes her head and she hits the Goliath on the side of his leather armor, and he doesn't seem to even notice it, but turns and they start to head away. As she's walking away, "Do not fail me now. Remember, you get more gold if you make it. Ask Fexus." And then she heads back towards the area where the elevation machine, winchy thing is. They don't have the title of elevator in It's just been invented. The train gives off 3 more toots. Oh, you're gonna wish you never agreed to that. And you hear the conductor from somewhere over near where the actual train doors are closing. He's a little gnomish guy in kind of a blue outfit. It's not like an actual train conductor with like the little puffy Thomas the Tank Engine looking hat and the little clothes. He looks more like a mage than anything else, but he does have a uniform to a degree. Like most of the conductors have a similar looking uniform. And this little like 2-foot gnomish train conductor guy shouts, "All aboard! Last call!" And you see the doors and stuff start to close. The half-orcs, which have finished their loading of the cargo, are heading back inside, and it doesn't appear to be anyone else getting on the train. It starts to make some whirring sounds as the engine starts up.
I guess we get on then. Yeah, that Kenneth is gonna get on. I'm gonna get on.
Heading on.
Move it on.
Just
I'm taking the box and heading towards the marketplace. I'm gonna buy supplies before I go.
The marketplace is like all the way back down in Sin River.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. There's pretty much nothing that you can buy here because this is like outside of town. Like at night they just leave this building. There's nothing in there of value because it's just up and outside of any guard.
Gotcha.
So it's just like a ramshackle kind of large building. Everything is done based on a conductor. So if you want to buy stuff, then you could potentially buy things from the conductor himself. But they don't have
on the train.
Yeah. But they don't have a full. It's not like it's nowhere near that in depth. They don't have like a full cart full of everything, but they do have like some basic supplies and things like that.
Gotcha. Oh, in that case, Rush is gonna look around specifically at. Hold on. Character names. Commit them to memory.
It might be easier right now if you go into display name and just change your name from whatever your real name is to the character. That's sometimes the best way to go about this, because then you'll roll as that thing as well.
Gotcha.
I can't do that for you, but yeah.
He's specifically looking at Lash and Arden and says, "Well, come on, then we can't miss the train," and like starts. He is about to hand the box to Arden because he sees how big he is, and he's like, "How heavy is the box that I'm carrying around, and how large is it?"
Not very heavy. It looks like it would be maybe a little heavier than you would expect, but it does have some weight to it. I don't know what it is in pounds, but it would probably weigh about as much as like a decent bag of sugar, something like that. Like it's not huge and lumbering. No, you could put it in a bag or something like that. It's
okay. Well, in
like
that case,
the size of your head.
He's not going to hand it. He's not going to hand it to Arden then. Oh, it's not that heavy. He'll just throw it in the backpack and get on the train.
Yeah, it's more like it would be more like a jewelry box kind of size, I guess. Carry on.
I look around and make sure that the rest of the party are on before I proceed.
The other direction.
Before I proceed to the nearest ship.
Well,
the continent.
So, as everybody starts to approach, I guess Raji, you're first, or Kenneth, did you go first?
I went first.
As you approach the door, the little gnome is in the way, and he says,
"Yes, tickets, please."
Do I have tickets?
No.
I'm going to say immediately, I'm on business for House Naga and have not had time to pick up the tickets. I'm sure you understand.
Oh.
He kind of looks around.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, yeah. You're in the cargo.
We're in the cargo?
Yeah, I was told that you were gonna be in the cargo.
Sounds about right.
Okay then.
So just he's on like the passenger car. You can see in the window there's like a noble-looking woman like looking out the window like, ugh. And maybe a little further on there's more of a kind of a common-looking man who's kind of like looking out, trying to see what's going on, see this ragtag group trying to get on. There's maybe like a little kid up at the window like, "Whoa, Mom, he's got a gun."
Do
And
the seats look full?
no, not at all.
Okay.
It's just there's a handful of people on here. But yeah, the gnome kind of points back down. Again, the second carriage is just this big cargo, one of those cliche-looking open side boxes that you could jump in and sit on.
I'm assuming that Kenneth is standing right next to me or in front of me because he started
probably be.
walking first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll look back at the gnome and say, at least let the old man sit down. I don't mind the cargo.
Yes, please. It's been a long journey. Sitting on the train for hours. Could you perhaps let them on as well? I persuade him.
You can roll me a persuasion, sure.
Why is my... Oh, there we go. My dice was blank there for a minute.
Yes, I noticed.
That was weird. Sorry, I had to quickly hack in.
The
The heat, it doesn't agree with me as the years go on.
Yeah, it must be tough staying on trains all day. How, man?
It is. It's quite an endeavor. The heat gets through the carriage. I'm very brittle, and I've got like the little walking stick out of my cloak.
Just trying to make yourself look weaker than you are, as weak as you can.
Not weak at all, but just like,
The gnome kind of like pokes his head in
Like,
the door, looks
pop
around.
my hip for.
he leans down and says,
Listen, I can let you on, but not everyone. I was specifically told that you had to stay in the cargo bay. You're not to be seen or something.
Then, no worries. I will join them on the cargo bay then as well.
It's pretty comfy back there. You could maybe find a hay pile.
I'm already walking away and getting on the
Do
cargo.
you have a pillow, perhaps? Could I bring a pillow?
A pillow?
A pillow.
No. I haven't seen a pillow in 5 years. I'm a train conductor.
What the fuck do they sit on?
they sit on cushions.
I'm just gonna walk away.
They sit
Not
on
even-
bad times.
Thank you, and just walking away.
I mean, the cushions are like part of the seat. They don't have like
Okay.
the
They
gnome.
don't like hobble away for extra added effect.
The gnome is like shaking his head, confused, and he brings the door closed, and the train, a couple of seconds later, begins to and take its slow exit out of town. The out in the desert, way away from where you are, there is a figure, shall we say, who is standing and looking out across the wastes here, the pure desert, the sand, and she says to some shadowy looking figures behind her. She's in like a full set of armor. This thing looks like it fits to her body really weirdly well, like it moves and changes, and there's not a single piece of skin showing. She has like a full helm over her head, and then a light kind of like cape attached to it, which flaps in the wind as they look out over the completely dusty desert. Down below them there is some train tracks that lead either side, and she turns back to the figures behind her and she says,
They're on their way. Prepare.
and that's where we go to our first break tonight. The gang and I will return in a couple of minutes. Sorry, I thought the stream had died, but it hasn't. I just, you know when you look over at stuff and it's like, there's something wrong here, and there's no information coming at you from everything?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great, good. Well, at least it happened on the break. Anyway, no, it hasn't. So, yeah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes when these guys will be on a train. How exciting. I'm looking forward to it. See you in a few minutes.
Okay, Jim.
How
Sterling
exciting.
here. Thank God for me. Like,
Go,
The lifestyles of the rich and famous.
go and get yourselves a cup
reenact
of
Young and the
water.
Restless on a train.
We'll see you in a few minutes.